I'm Steph Rogers, and I'm on the Microsoft Azure gaming team, and I'm so excited to be here at GDC and joined by my co-host, who's Jonathan Burroughs, and he's the co-founder of Variable State. We'll be talking over a few things today. Today we'll be going over Variable State's inspirations and motivations. We're also going to be going over their remote development using Azure. We're going to be going over the ID Azure and the Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub program and how it's been helping them. And then we're going to go over what are the next steps for Variable State and the future technology they're excited to tap into. So jumping right on in. Hey, Jonathan, how's it going?
Hey, hello, doing well. Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Awesome. Could you tell us a little bit about Variable State and the games that Variable States makes, and then a little bit about your team that has kicked it off?
So as you mentioned, I'm one of the co-founders, co-directors of Variable State. My other founders are Terry Kenny and Lyndon Holland. Variable State's been in business almost for getting close to 10 years now, since 2014. Our studio is fully remote, has been since we set it up. And our focus has always been character-led storytelling. Really, all our games so far have been unashamedly story-first, single-player, linear, offline experiences. Two release titles are Virginia, which came out in 2016, and Last Stop, most recently, in 2021. But yeah, that's Variable State in a nutshell, I think.
You're still a fairly fresh studio. Tell us a little bit about like your team size right now and where everyone's all at.
Yeah, so we're actually the largest that we've ever been. So historically, we've been a very small company and kind of relied on freelancers to a great extent. But now we're a fully permanent staff of about 15, growing to 20. But yeah, because we're a remote studio, we get the benefit that we can work with folks regardless of where they are geographically. So mostly people from the United Kingdom. We've got folks in the Republic of Ireland, in Europe, some collaborators in America as well. But yeah, so really spread around, but it doesn't really feel like that at all. Like everyone's much the same once you jump in a video call.
Yeah, it really sounds like you value that like work-life balance, ability to be remote, and it sounds like cloud would be a really wonderful solution for that. I think most people, when they think of single-player narrative-based games, they probably think of like, oh, they don't need like cloud services or cloud gaming. That would be more for like the massive multiplayer online games and like the huge lobbies. But you all have used cloud in a totally different way. Could you tell us a little bit about how you use cloud to be there for your like a narrative-based game as well as a remote team?
I guess this comes from being a remote studio. There's always been a requirement for there to be some centralized infrastructure that the whole team accesses. But of course, we don't have premises for that to be just a server rack in the corner or anything like that. So in the early days of the company, we relied very much on hardware that I just had in my home, say for hosting our source control and Perforce. Having a machine at home, we took security precautions such as having cloud backup and what have you, but we're still at the mercy of my domestic internet connection and it's both its limited speed and its limited reliability, which wasn't ideal. And so moving from Last Stop to our most recent project, when the studio's been undergoing a variety of changes, like technological, in terms of team composition, in terms of the complexity of the projects that we work on, we wanted to make sure that we professionalize and take our infrastructure seriously. So we've made the move to hosting our source control in the cloud. But beyond that, it's just presented a variety of opportunities I don't think that we fully expected ourselves. So it's not just infrastructure, but there are opportunities now around automation and also around some unexpected things as well in terms of content creation. I think we're even considering there being a place for analytics, not in the traditional way, maybe where you'd sort of monitor consumer behavior to tune your finances, but more during development, perhaps as a way for us to automate some of our QA processes and get a lead on bugs before we're even aware of them. And maybe in the future, even it's a way for us to understand how players are enjoying our games from a creative perspective. So yeah, it's been quite surprising, quite a few opportunities there that we perhaps didn't think that there would be.
That's really amazing to hear your story about, going from just depending at the mercy of the internet of your home and just hoping nothing crashes so that way everything can deploy properly. It's I'm sure you've quite a few stressful stories of how that maybe has gone haywire a few times. So, with your journey into the cloud, when it comes to Azure, you were part of the first group to join the ID Azure program, and also the Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub. And for those of you who are not familiar with the ID Azure program, it enables studios and creators to take full advantage of the cloud and to build and to grow their games. So developers can join and receive free access, development tools, support from industry experts, that one-to-one connections with Microsoft Cloud Services across Microsoft, not just Azure. And that's when working with the Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub, you have even more access to credits. That's one of the biggest perks. We all like, free credits, and also resources and that one-to-one conversation with experts. So could you tell us a little bit about your experience with the ID Azure program as well as the Founders Hub?
Yeah, of course. So it was a big question, a big change for us as a studio. It was certainly something we took our time over and did our due diligence with. I mean, on a practical level, we are a Windows first developer, I'd say. Our tools and technology are developed with Windows in mind. A lot of our existing infrastructure, in particular our source control and perforce, it made most sense that would be hosted on a Windows instance. So I think we knew whichever cloud provider we went with, it was going to be Windows that we were using as our operating system. And so we gravitated to Azure naturally that way. And then that just happened to coincide with this opportunity to pilot ID Azure. Really just lucky timing, but a fantastic gift. That opportunity came along right when we were in most need.
And what were some of the top benefits, like what you mentioned being in your most need? What were some of the top benefits that the ID Azure program and the Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub has provided variable state?
We mostly approached it from a kind of an infrastructure and productivity perspective at first. We knew that we needed, as a remote studio, for all of our staff, no matter where they were geographically, to have the fastest, most reliable access to our cloud-based infrastructure. And so Azure certainly provided that. But then the benefit of the credits that come with the program, which give us this cushion to take risks, to experiment in ways that we would be more timid about if we were spending our own money. That's been great, not just in terms of how it levels up our productivity and helps expand the kind of tools that we're using on an infrastructure side, but it is kind of opening our eyes to new creative possibilities as well, which has been a bit of a surprise for us. So yeah, in those regards, I guess the third thing is we're already making use of plenty of Microsoft services. Anyway, we use Visual Studio, we use Microsoft 365. And so I've mentioned a whole lot of things where perhaps we're doing things for the first time or dipping our toe in unfamiliar waters. It's also just a great fit. It overlaps really nicely with tools and technology we're using already. So across the board, it's been a good fit for us as a studio.
So Jonathan, the studio just, was you and your two co-founders. And so to start, from nothing and then to go forward, like expanding your team, being fully remote, it sounds pretty ambitious entrepreneurship on your part. Can you tell us a little bit about how Azure has enabled that?
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, it may sound strange that I guess you could view us as quite a mature studio. We've been around for 8-9 years now. That said, video game development is a precarious business, and obviously moving from project to project, each game that you work on has its own challenges, opportunities, but also risks. So I don't think there's a year that goes by where there isn't a curveball or something that takes us by surprise, or where the sense of both what a fantastic opportunity this is, but the realistic concern that this could all go away in a moment. That's always weighing on our minds, and so anything that can bolster our capabilities, or where there's an off-the-shelf solution for something, so we don't have to go and write our own code. There's a tried and tested practical benefit that we can just grab and integrate into our existing solutions. And more than that, there's someone on the end of the phone who we can ask dumb questions to, and they'll give us a sympathetic ear and give us an answer that's been robustly stress tested. Well, that confidence that gives means that we can be anxious about other things, and most crucially anxious about making the best game possible. So I would say Azure, absolutely meets that requirement or meets those needs. It's just been a weight off in all sorts of ways.
That's awesome because you can focus then on like what really is important and doesn't have to take up the tedious amounts of time, and focusing on where's the data going, what are the analytics doing, how do we pull this, but you have the freedom to focus on what you want to do. What are some of the technologies that you see coming in the future now with like, you have the credits and you're looking into the future with like making more games? You mentioned that you want to be a multi-game creating studio. I imagine there's going to be a lot of new toys that you get to play with or tools and services that you want to implement to make these games really shine.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess an unexpected application for Azure, but one that we're taking very seriously is actually the use of analytics. And I guess traditionally people would associate analytics with maybe more the business side of game development, where you're interested in customer behavior to tune your finances and things like that. Not really a consideration for us. I mean, we primarily work through publishers, and we don't really make the kind of games that's most relevant to. How it is relevant to us, though, is I think we're interested in automating processes as much as possible and using analytics during development as almost an automated QA tool. I think we see some real opportunities there, so that we can become aware of bugs before perhaps we even spot them in the game ourselves as developers. And I think there are potentially some applications for that on the creative side as well, where if we can better understand how people are playing our games, that might, I don't know, certainly inform our thinking with the kind of games that we want to make in the future. So I think surprising opportunities that we would totally have been oblivious to before making use of Azure.
So, Jonathan, tell us a little bit more about what the futures are of the games that you have coming up in the horizon.
Yeah, so it's definitely an exciting time for us at Variable State. I think, as I mentioned before, we're a bigger studio than we've ever been before, a larger workforce. We've made some interesting technology changes to our processes, already in service of, so the game that we're currently developing has been really focused on full-time since Last Stop wrapped up. It is very much a more ambitious game than anything we've done. More technically complicated, more complicated in terms of the art workflows involved in making it. But it's really all in service of making a story that is actually, I think, more intimate and more nuanced than anything that we've done before, and that takes place in a setting that I think will be very surprising to folks that have followed our games so far. So we can't talk about specifics right now, but hopefully we'll be able to very soon. Beyond that, our ambitions are that the studio gets to work on more projects simultaneously and on a greater variety of projects as well. And certainly Azure has opened our eyes to opportunities in terms of storytelling that involves maybe more than one player at once. Maybe games that have a longer life to them, or that are targeted at platforms that perhaps are a little unfamiliar to us. So there's certainly a lot going on at Variable State, and a lot that I am excited to share in the future.
I'm definitely intrigued. I mean, I love playing Virginia and going through the Last Stop, really enjoying those narrative-rich games, and I encourage everyone to go check them out. Thank you, Jonathan, so much. Just a quick wrap up is for those of you that are interested in the ID Azure program or the Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub, just want to remind you, you can check out the website at azure.com/ID, where you can learn about developing faster, working smarter, not harder, and also the one-to-one like help and resources that are available to people who join the program. And thank you so much, Jonathan, for joining me today. Appreciate it. Good luck with the games.
Cool. Cheers for the opportunity. Thanks.